What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah,
okay.
CB myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the One Set Podcast. My name is Anthony Irvin, and I'm here with my best friend and co-host, Jim Green. What's going on, man?
What is happening? New backdrop, new digs.
Yay.
Pretty exciting stuff going on over here. Not going to get too much into it. We did relocate, and it all kind of happened within the last month, literally. Nothing we expected, kind of all worked out. We are happy as can be in a bigger location, and the move was 25 feet away. So it just made it so much easier. We're not totally settled in yet, but we are recording. It is now Wednesday morning, just after midnight. But I didn't have internet for Monday night recording. Any rate, it's, enough of that boring stuff, right? We were just talking about that before we started recording. Not too much of the personal life stuff, right?
Yeah, we wanted to try to do a little bit of short talk on it, but not too much because we've been noticing, getting on the back personal life stuff. We wanted to try to get more into what we want to talk about instead of having you guys go through like 20-30 minutes of back talk. But yeah, because obviously the same stuff's been going on the last couple weeks. But what's been going on, and obviously we're in our Wrestlemania like series and big thing right now in our podcast. We're very heavily staying towards our wrestling. So for all our wrestling fans, we hope you guys are digging everything. And we're a couple weeks out from Wrestlemania. So if you caught our episode last week, we were going over some Cena stuff and Cody, and we're gonna go over what happened from SmackDown last Friday, the CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and we'll go over a little bit of Raw. So again, I think everything's still kind of simmering. We've had a couple builds, but I think everything's still at like a simmer now. I think especially since we're just getting done the internationals. We were just talking about it before starting, that we're coming down to our last two international shows, SmackDown being in London and then London again for next week. So we're coming down to the last two, and then it goes back into the States. And I think once it gets back into the States, that's when I think it's going to start, the fire's going to really start burning and getting everything really intensed up. The crowds have been amazing in the international, so it's really helped keep everything going. But I still feel like we haven't really gotten a lot of like big things happen. It's just keeping the storylines going and waiting until they get back to the States to really start sparking things up. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're doing London for SmackDown tonight, and then they're doing as in Friday when this comes out.
Yeah.
And then they're doing Raw in London on Monday. And then they will be in Chicago next Friday for SmackDown. So obviously big time CM Punk stuff going on there.
Big CM Punk time.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing a show that night, so I mean I'll probably miss, but if you're coming to the show, you'll probably be giving me a couple of the heads up if you get it on your phone or anything. So we'll be kind of keeping a little bit of tune to what's going on. Yeah,
I mean, I will probably get home from watching your show and just kind of skim through it. My kids are my team dancers from Maryland are competing that Saturday, Sunday. So it's not even like, oh, I'll just catch it on Saturday, like at any time.
Right.
Come home, kind of like tune into, usually the WWE social media is really good about showing the highlights, like the big, big stuff. So it's like, okay, those full segments I'll go back and watch.
Yeah.
But matches, generally speaking, there are good matches happening on TV. I don't even want to say they're bad, but obviously I'm like,
No, yeah.
the good matches are going to be at Mania in 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, get us to WrestleMania, right?
Absolutely. Just get us to Mania.
And
Eh,
it's great because like I feel like every weekend I have like busy stuff happening, so Mania is just gonna come here so fast, man. Like I'm excited, but also like it's not gonna feel like it takes forever to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And with work right now, I just got some extra trainings that I got to do. So I thought that I was going to be on shift and I probably was going to be working that Saturday, the night one of Mania. And so I was probably thinking I was probably going to miss maybe the first hour or two, but I'm getting some extra training. So I might actually be able to be available for that Saturday and catch everything. So it's kind of like 50-50 right now. So I'm looking forward to, hopefully, if that is true, if I will still be on like a regular Monday through Friday that week, I'll be able to catch everything and not have to worry about it. So yeah, I agree. The Penta and Braun Breaker stuff has been really good to just like keep people going. I mean, Penta is on fire, and Braun Breaker is just a beast in general. But we've been definitely seeing, you know, the release of Finn Balor kind of slowly being taken out of the Judgment Day, and this is more Raw stuff that we're really talking about. But just off the top of the head, just I can definitely see Finn being taken out because you saw Dom talking to Penta about joining the Judgment Day, and that they're been really heavily stating that they want a new member. So there's going to be some point where Finn's going to be pushed out. He's going to start being more of a face. There's going to be this new person. Whether it is Penta, I'm not sure, but we did have a glimpse that Penta did have the opportunity to help out the Judgment Day, but he just ended up, going and hitting Dom with a chair. So forward thinking, who knows? But I definitely think we're going to be getting Finn going out of the Judgment Day. Obviously, probably post WrestleMania. I think that will probably happen. We could be getting, Dom costing Finn again in some way during in that match or something, because it'll be like a Penta Finn type of situation. You never know. So that storyline is really starting to heat up, and that's really just been kind of going like this a little bit. But I think we're definitely starting to see the end factor of the Judgment Day, and like going through that different thing, and how the same thing where the bloodline is, not really a thing much anymore. But I think once a lot of this, Roman and Rock stuff, we'll probably get back to like the bloodline, because I still think you have to have some type of closure with this bloodline thing.
Yeah, I just think that I think the bloodline stuff right now is just Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. Like,
Yes.
obviously you have we got to see the Usos tag team on Raw last night, so that
Which was cool. Yeah.
Unexpected, but also don't hate it. I thought it was good to get Jimmy Uso. I can't believe I'm saying Jimmy Uso's getting the rub from his brother Jay, but like it's kind of just where they are right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, we're just kind of going through like a couple of the bigger highlights, but we're going to go back through everything.
Right. Well, let's actually start with Jay, because I think that was the biggest thing we were talking about before going on air. Let's start with Jimmy, even though it's not SmackDown stuff, but you had brought me to a video, and they were really heavily saying that, whether as of right now, how the build is for Gunther and Jay, should it be a main event caliber match? And they were, saying it probably shouldn't be. And I'm sure some people feel it should be. There's some people that said it shouldn't. But in my aspect, I kind of agree with this guy, where I don't think the build for this match has really given to the point where Jay deserves this. Jay deserves this big win. I think he does, because the whole overness of his yeet and all their things, obviously they're probably eventually going to get him the belt, but the fact that he's not selling it to the point is why I think it's being so lackluster. And we were saying if it's going to be a main event, they're going to give it to Jay. But if it's earlier in the night, it could go either way. So
yeah, I have been really thinking about this because I the hate for Jey, like the hate not for Jey Uso specifically, but the hate that he's receiving right now. Um, I actually feel like that is a lot of the booking decision. Like I will blame it on like how Triple H is positioning this build, and it feels very like they are just trying to make Jay look like he can't beat Gunther, right?
Yeah.
And it makes him look weak. Like the dude just won the most stacked Royal Rumble of all time,
Yes.
and he eliminated John Cena at the end of it.
Like I was saying, like I feel his trip thing that happened at Raw this past week, he had
staged.
because the botch the week before, I think that definitely that is something that he definitely messed up on. This week, I think they try to probably capitalize on that, and like maybe we're getting with something. And no, I think that trip was a work because when you trip, if you watch it back, he trips with his front foot. So he brings his front foot back and he falls. If you were to say that like he slipped and tripped, he would have slipped with his back foot. That's probably just coming from a runner aspect, but I definitely feel it was like a work to the point where now they're probably trying to feed off, like, if we're really trying to sell Jimmy that he can't do it, let's just continue to give him opportunities where like, oh, he's right there, but he misses the opportunity. He's right there, but he misses the opportunity up until the match. And then you get that big climatic thing where he wins the match. Because I think at this point, everybody knows he's probably going to win because of all this big notion that he's getting, but probably creative is thinking, how can we make this unpredictable to the predictableness of the the whole story, because he's so over that everybody's expecting him to win. How can we make it where we can now get people to think, oh, well, maybe he might not win. And I think that's where they're trying to think like, oh, let's just try to have him, mess up in certain ways and giving him. And again, his matches have been not anything perfect to be thinking, oh, this guy's going to be facing like the heavyweight champion in a couple weeks, but he's in a tag team match, So again, not having I loved seeing the Usos back together, but you would think he'd be in more bigger caliber matches going into these things to prove like, hey, he's really knocking these people down to the point where he's going to be seeing Gunther in a couple weeks. So I think the booking is trying to make him like the underdog, but he's so over. But it's like they're trying to move the fans to the point where he might not make it, but they're like, no, he's going to. So it's like you're trying to move it to a point where you're trying to flip the audience one way, but I think they're just so to the point where now he's just going to win. We're all for him, whatever he does. So it's kind of hard to really flip them if you're trying to like think, hey, maybe he couldn't. And now Jay's like, and I think again, it probably was a work because they talked about it literally 5-10 minutes after it happened in the backstage segment. So there's no way you can just be like 5 seconds later, oh, okay, talk about this right then. So it was 100% a work.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they brought Jimmy Uso on the Raw not just to give the fans the Usos in a tag match. I feel like they brought Jimmy Uso on the Raw just to have that backstage segment.
Yeah,
and it also set up for Jimmy versus Gunther's match next week, which is great. That's a good way to, get Gunther to just completely demolish Jimmy Uso and give Jay a reason to have that fire underneath him.
Yes.
And then come out guns blazing.
I would hope that Gunther just tears Jimmy apart. And that just is something that, like you said, fuels Jay going into these next couple weeks. Do they go, I'm going to take you out. You took out my brother. So Gunther needs to just tear down Jimmy next week.
I mean, I think it's the only way, right?
Yeah.
And if Jay is firing on all cylinders and he's hitting all of his marks, then we can go back and say, okay, all of that was definitely work. I mean, I don't think that the botch where his foot got caught on the rope was staged, because you would never stage that. And
No.
but I just scrolled back to watch the attempted spear, and I'm like, okay, I actually do think that that was staged. Just watching him trip, like you were saying, like
it just seemed too easy. Like he tripped from his front leg instead of the back leg, which would be more realistic if he were to say like, "Oh, I tripped," because usually you don't trip on that front foot
because you're pushing off the back.
You're
leg,
pushing off that. You're pushing off that back leg, but then you're putting more your body onto that front. So I mean, at some point you probably could, but I think the more realistic way is to slip on your back foot more than your front.
You go to push too hard off the back foot and you don't quite get the proper angle, and then the back foot slides out, and then that causes you to just face plant, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely think it was meant to be, and then having the segment later down the road in there, and leading into Jimmy and Gunther next week. So I think we're definitely, obviously, in the match, we're going to see Jimmy and or Jay and Gunther fight it out again, but this time it has to have Gunther taking out Jimmy, leaving him in the ring, Jay coming out to save his brother. But if they have to have another battle, Jimmy has to come out on this one, or Jay has to come out on this one and do something. Because if he just keeps messing up, I mean,
keep messing up.
Yeah, keep messing up. It's just gonna, one, it's gonna piss people off.
Yeah.
To the point where you're like, okay, it's the same stuff every week, and we get it. But Jay has to have one over on him eventually.
Yeah,
and I think that would be the perfect time to start putting Jay on the top. Saying, I thought I couldn't do it, but now I'd have that spark to get me to and that seeing that if he does take out Jimmy, that would be the spark to get him through the next couple of weeks to be like, yeah, I can do this.
So
I did it for Jimmy.
I did it. 3 Monday Night Raws left. The next Raw being March 31st in London. You have just Gunther wipe the mat clean with Jimmy Uso. The week after that, April 7th, you have Jey Uso actually take Gunther out and make it look like, oh, he's fired up. He is enraged. And then you have the next week, you have Gunther either go to get the best of him and Jay fight his way out of it, and then it's like a neutral zone, and then just get us to WrestleMania. Because all of this time, it's been Gunther getting the upper hand, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he takes out Jimmy. Jay comes in and just unloads on him one time, and then the week after that, they're just getting pulled apart from each other again. Like,
it'll be the typical get everybody in the ring, pulling people apart, blah blah blah.
I do have to say that is getting a little oversaturated right now.
It is being used a little more
because
over the last couple months.
It's happening almost every week. Rather, whether it's on back-to-back Raws or if it's like Raw this week and SmackDown the next week, and then it just feels like so much. That was reserved for absolute blowouts. I mean, when The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar were going at it and the whole locker room was clearing out, that was absolutely bonkers, right? Because that kind of stuff didn't happen. Now you got these guys coming in all the time, and I'm like, it's losing its spark.
It's being oversaturated.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go back to SmackDown and just kind of go through some of the key stuff here. Orton opens up the show. Owens comes out and tries to, pull this like manipulative, like, hey, you and I should chase the tag team titles at WrestleMania. Yeah. I was just like, I mean, Kevin Owens is just so good at what he does. And I'm like, damn. They're obviously building up for the punt, right?
Yes.
That
Randy doesn't forget.
Randy does not forget. I just don't want either of these guys to lose that match at Mania.
It's going to be hard.
They made the match official. It is definitely happening.
Yes.
I mean, the hunch says Randy Orton should get that Mania win. I also kind of feel like Randy Orton doesn't care that much about winning at Mania. Like, he is there to he's grateful that he's able to do what he's doing still and get paid good money for it, right? So,
hey, it's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. I mean, my initial take is, and you and I talked about this. You actually mentioned it. I was like, that's exactly where my head was. We're getting, I think it's Backlash is in St. Louis the month after WrestleMania. Randy Orton's hometown. Definitely seems like a good time to get Randy Orton versus a newly crowned champion John Cena, even though, and I know this is jumping ahead, John Cena says he's going to win the title and just go home, and he's going to be the last real champion, right?
He's going to ruin wrestling.
He's going to ruin wrestling.
Wait a minute.
I like want to jump into that, and I'm trying to stay just on task here. Sorry,
we'll get there. We'll definitely get there.
I do see there being a chance where Kevin Owens wins the match, and we get Randy Orton hitting him with the punt after the fact. Kind of writes Kevin Owens off TV for a minute, because I mean, Kevin Owens did write Randy Orton off TV with the pile driver. He wrote Sami Zayn off TV with the package pile driver, right? So Owens taking time off after Mania certainly seems storyline full circle kind of thing.
Yeah.
Full circle, I think, would be Randy Orton getting the comeuppance and getting the win. Like, that's
I think
me right
Orton
now.
Definitely needs to win against KO, because like you just mentioned, if he's being advertised for Backlash, he's got to come off on a win. And whether it's going to be him facing a newly crowned Cena or something along those odds, if he's going to be featured in Backlash, Orton has to be coming off a WrestleMania win. And whether it's like, I mean, I think it's going to be a great match no matter what. But yeah, I would like to think if they're featuring Orton on a pay-per-view, they need to have him win at Mania going into that for sure. Yep. So, I mean, as hard as it is going to be to really decide that, I would have to put my money on Orton taking the hard win on that.
Yeah, as of right now, that seems to make the most sense, right? The next match was a tag match with, it was Drew McIntyre and Shinsuke Nakamura against Jimmy Uso and Damian Priest. So, without going into the specifics of the match, Drew McIntyre absolutely takes out Damian Priest. And by takes out, I mean Damian Priest sold that beat down to the point where it looked concerned. Like, his face looked like he was
That'll be another good match, because they're both good workers. Drew is Drew. We've talked about him a lot. He's doing awesome work. And I feel Priest has been coming up, and you know, obviously with him being the Money in the Bank, he was a champion for a little bit, but you know, he's definitely earning his stripes as well. So I think they're gonna put on a good show at Mania if they do make that official for Drew and Priest, if they haven't yet. But I don't think I don't think they've made it official yet.
I was gonna go back and look, but I don't think that they have yet. I think next Friday on SmackDown will be Damian Priest gets his retribution, unless if they just write Priest off TV next week and they're just like, Damian Priest has suffered, and then the next week on SmackDown, Priest comes out and just decimates Drew McIntyre, and by decimates I mean like gets the one up on him, and then it looks like he's going to really lay into him, and then Drew escapes because the heel always kind of gets away. They don't actually get their full blown beat down, right? So again, tough to pick the winner of that match. But I will say, if you're going off of last year's WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre did beat Seth Rollins clean, and then we got the Damian Priest cash in, which gave Damian Priest a main roster top title. Like, he got the top title run after that until SummerSlam, where Gunther beat him, right?
Yes.
Thanks to Finn Balor. So that being said, I think, like, my money is on Drew McIntyre is getting the win at WrestleMania, just to give him a solid win.
Okay.
If he, the flip side of that is, if they're trying to build up Priest as a solo, like a singles star, he needs the win, right?
And that's where I was going. If they want to continue his solo run, he needs all the wins at this point to really keep him going with that.
Like,
so
relevant.
If they're trying to do that, I would definitely say Priest has to, because Drew's been going at it so long that him probably losing to this one really won't damage him too well. But I think Priest losing it will damage him a lot more, because he's trying to work his way back up the ladder with that and establish himself as a solo star. So I would definitely think the percentage more goes towards Priest winning than Drew. But again, it could just depend on the situation. But I still think Priest needs the win outright more than Drew in that situation.
And the, like, politics behind this again is, like, if Drew does the job for Priest, he's gonna expect to be taken care of in return, right?
Yeah.
And after the year that Drew McIntyre has just had, I mean, how can you not book this guy in top angles, right?
Right.
He has just come into his own with, like, he's literally the spokesperson for, like, IWC Backlash, and he's literally just putting it out there. He's basically bringing the IWC's, like, marking into the writing, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it like that. Just to comment on Jimmy Uso and Shinsuke in that match, I still feel like they're gonna be in I feel like they're gonna wind up with the 6-person US title match, where you have LA Knight defending against. I know initially it was like, oh, the Intercontinental title could be defended in a 6-pack challenge. I'm going to get back to that when we jump to Raw.
Right.
After that, we get Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte, which Charlotte basically eats Tiffany Stratton alive.
Yeah.
And we talked about this before we hopped on, where I just think it's not that Tiffany is not great on the mic. She just doesn't know how to be a face champion. Like, she's definitely more cut out as the heel. She was great as a heel. Like, it seems so natural to her. So I also think that Tiffany's going into this, like, there's no way that she's getting booked to beat Charlotte clean at WrestleMania. So it's like, she's kind of going into this knowing she's already defeated. So she's
already on the underside of it. So it's like, kind of, again, always kind of hard to root against Charlotte Flair. But, it's almost in the same way with Priest. They want to, like, start building Tiffany up as a solo person. But when you're in the championship scene, it's kind of hard when your first big opponent is Charlotte Flair. So, and you're trying to, win your thing on the mic, where Flair has so much more experience at that, and you're trying to switch Tiff into the face era and Charlotte being the heel. And like we were saying, that Tiff is definitely way better at being a heel than a face. So it's kind of flipping the situation where now you have to play your game a little differently, and she's still finding her stride there. So, coming off the whole brawl that they had, it definitely just shifted way more towards Flair in the talk back with them. So it's definitely obviously giving more opportunities for people to think, yeah, I mean, there's no way that Charlotte Flair doesn't come out of there champion again. But there's always that percentage that it is what you probably think, but you never know. And Tiffany might just pull an upset and still retain it. Flair could be just using it to build Tiffany up, and then she gets the win out of it. And so you never know. I mean, I'm not ruling it out, but again, always hard to pick against Flair.
I think if Tiffany Stratton wins, it's going to be a roll up, grab the tights, feet on the rope, like she cheats to win because she has to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that whether we get Charlotte winning the title at Mania, if she doesn't win it at Mania, she's getting it shortly thereafter, and then they're going to make Tiffany go on the chase against.
Yeah.
Basically, I think I said this before, a la Becky Lynch makes her return and just squashes Bianca Belair, and then they go on that whole run from SummerSlam to the next Mania where Bianca has to chase. She wins the run. Like, I just see almost a carbon copy for Tiffany Stratton to get the title back, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pressing on here, I think we get into Jacob Fatu goes up against Braun Strowman for a match. Number one. I mean, we loved both of these guys, right? Especially Fatu right now, and we loved Braun for a long time.
Fatu is just
money, dude.
Everything, money. That's the word. He's so on the money, and just a guy of his stature, just doing everything that he's doing is just freaking nuts.
Yeah, I mean, anytime that guy's on my TV, my phone is over here somewhere. I'm watching Jacob Fatu on TV, right?
Yeah, and it's to the point that Anth was watching, and I don't think he really he picked up on that entrance. He's like, oh, it's Jacob Fatu. Fatu didn't even come out yet, and he just knew it by the music. I'm like, wow, how'd you guess that? So
there we go.
Again, he's paying attention. So, I mean, and the whole thing that came out of that is the fact that Solo Sikoa and Tonga came out, and now we're getting the heat backstage between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, where obviously Solo does not feel he did anything wrong, but Jacob's saying you're getting in my way. I can handle my own business. So this is going to definitely start simmering. I can see this turning into a SummerSlam thing between those two.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening at Mania. It can probably start cooking after Mania, but I can definitely seeing it being somewhere we get them in a match somewhere this summer. If not Money in the Bank, definitely by SummerSlam.
Yeah. I mean, unless we get this multi-man United States title match and you have Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa in the match by happenstance. Right. And then you let that whole thing fizzle out during the match. And then we can get the two of them facing off even at Backlash. I was going to
mention that too. That it could be a Backlash thing. Maybe something happens at Mania between those two, and then it's a thing that okay, well, let's square it out at Backlash. So.
I thought it was genius booking, though. I mean, you're getting LA Knight defending the U.S. title against Braun Strowman next week. Again, a lot of this just seems to be okay, this is triggering this to trigger this just to get us to the end result of this is the match that you're getting at WrestleMania. It's fine.
But this is where we're going to, little planting little seeds to get to the big planting little seeds to get to the big flower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate-based podcasting solution and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. they've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layered backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to Zencastr.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
Okay, so they're setting up for Liv Morgan against Jade Cargill. I'm like, all right, this is it. Really, to me, I'm digesting this as they're trying to give Jade Cargill the chance to be a single star. Bianca is on Raw doing that whole business over there. Like she's clearly away from SmackDown, away from Naomi. Like that stuff is happening without Bianca. Totally fine with it. Keep Bianca and Jade away from each other. More on that in a bit. Just scrolling through I mean, I did watch SmackDown, but it was 5 days ago now. Zelina Vega versus Piper Niven. Just gonna say was what it was. No disrespect to them, but I don't think it has any WrestleMania implications.
No.
So there's that.
I will say on the fact that, they gave these two belts to the women, the U.S. belt to Chelsea Green and the Intercontinental Championship to Valkyria. They've only really defended the titles maybe once or twice. So
I think Lyra's had a handful.
She's had more title defenses than Chelsea Green. And I think Chelsea Green's more being put on NXT now, but she's still coming on SmackDown or Raw here and there. But she had like a tweet saying like, goodbye SmackDown here, and then welcome NXT. So not sure if they're just trying to bring her back down or if she's just working both, things to kind of just keep her status going. But on the fact that the main takeaway is like, you brought these belts into the women's division, but they're not really doing much with them. Valkyria had that title defense against Rodriguez on Raw. I thought she was losing it, but she ended up pulling out the win. But I don't see her keeping it much longer. I definitely think she'll probably lose if she does have a match at Mania. I think she'll probably lose at Mania.
More on that when we get to Raw. Yeah. And I think that the thing with Chelsea Green is that Triple H sees her character as an opportunity for segments. So we're not getting matches with her because her in-ring ability isn't anywhere near Lyra Valkyria's, which is why we see Lyra Valkyria in the ring, and you're not getting a lot of Valkyria on the mic and a lot of talking yet. Because she hasn't come into her own. Like Chelsea Green owns it on the mic. Like her,
absolutely.
Like she's great. They're both great in those different departments. Right? I do think that Valkyria in a couple years, once she comes into her own, will be great. Like we'll be like, Valkyria's on the TV, kind of like how we were with Rhea early on. I mean, Rhea was like pretty freaking good even in NXT. Yeah. That being said, I do think both of those titles change hands, if not at Mania, within the month after.
Yes.
Because that Women's United States Championship, as much as Chelsea Green's doing a good job as an entertainer, it
needs some new blood on it.
We can get that title on another mid-card women's wrestler to help elevate that title, because that championship is on SmackDown, and SmackDown is full of a lot of women's talent, right?
Yes.
Moving on from that, we have Street Profits versus Garza. Again, we're getting a multi-man tag team match at Mania, so they're just kind of filling this. Especially, you get the backstage segments where everyone's kind of tied into each other. Like they're doing a great job writing it. It's just kind of like I appreciate the effort. Just get me to the damn match, right?
I love the fact that Street Profits won and getting them back to being relevant. I like that they're going at it this time as a healed unit.
Unexpected, right?
We've seen the whole face thing with the cups and everything, but I love the heel persona right now. They're really, because it's almost like they're being loved no matter what, but they're still playing a heel character. So I love the fact that they're back on top. And the tag match, the 6-man tag match that they'll be in is definitely going to be something worthwhile to watch. I could definitely see them retaining for sure, because if they're getting this much popularity going into Mania, there's no reason why they can't keep it going. They can definitely still have some people chasing them post Mania, but I definitely would say if they're doing that 6-man tag, I would put my money on the Profits retaining somehow.
I would be more than good with it. I was not expecting the Street Profits to get the belts.
I didn't expect it that night either.
I was like, if they were going to get it, I was like, maybe they will win it at Mania. I like them going into Mania and walking out with the belts.
Yes.
When we get closer and we actually do our prediction, like our official prediction episode,
yes,
I'll see how I feel based on the booking leading into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, I mean, it's typical tag team bookings, but yeah, we'll see how these next couple weeks go with how they're being booked, and then see if that changes even my opinion as well. But I would just say I would like to see them retaining and continuing their championship reign for a little bit, because I love the heel persona from them.
Yeah. After that, Roman Reigns comes out. I mean, how crazy over is Roman Reigns, man? I mean, it's hard.
He's that thing right now, man.
I love him without the title. I have been waiting for years. I think you and I have both been waiting for years for him to be that dude that doesn't need the title to be a megastar.
It took a lot of up and downs, but it's to the point now where, he's getting that respect from people because he's found his thing that works, and they're not trying to push him on us. He's just doing his thing, and he's not trying to, be something he's not. He's just doing, the whole, it's something like, I think I've said this millions of times. He's doing what he should have done many years ago when it was Vince trying to push him. If Roman was doing this while in the Vince era, probably would have been a lot different response. But I think he finally found that middle ground where he can work with, and it's working, and he's having his best time doing it.
I think the best thing is he still has just had these words. He's got that confidence and that swagger, but he dropped the arrogance, right? The arrogance was part of the heel gimmick while he was a champion.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, after Cody beat him at Mania, and then he came back for SummerSlam. I mean, the crowd was chanting, "We want Roman," like 2 months after he was gone. That just blew my mind, because I was like,
yeah,
he's coming back, but let's not get crazy here. Okay. But that to me just showed the WWE universe loves Roman Reigns.
And how much they do need him on television.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. I mean, not even going to get into the exchanges here other than CM Punk's big thing. And he came out on Raw by himself to basically reiterate, neither one of you has beaten me without the help of the other. Which I think is great storyline building going into the triple threat match, which is now made official. Hey, you know what was weird to me though is like people have to fight for their way. I mean, it's not weird from a smart fans like us that have been paying attention for a long time.
Yeah.
But like you have wrestlers that are vying for spots at WrestleMania, and then you have guys go out there, brawl at each other, and then all three of them at different times just go, man, pointing at a sign, right?
Yeah.
And then that just means, they get a Mania match.
Right.
Just a subtle analysis of like, okay, so many. I understand they are the undercarders trying to make their way into Mania, whereas the people that generally point, they don't have to fight their way. I get that that's what that is, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shall we move on to Raw? I mean, there's stuff to unpack from there. Our buddy Steve in the One Set Fam Facebook group wanted us to kind of dive in to the Cena segment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do it.
I understand the frustration because like it felt almost the same as last week. Like maybe Cody got a little bit more aggressive in trying to get something out of Cena.
Yeah.
Cena's doing the heel chicken shit thing right now and just avoiding the situation. It's also I don't think that they're gonna come to blows physically. Like I don't think that they're gonna. They say, they're not gonna touch until their match at Mania. Everything is just gonna be promo. The fact that they are both on Raw again next week just sounds to me like
more the same.
We're getting more of the same. I mean, if anything, we might get Cena like get a little bit loud with Cody.
Yeah, because you can kind of see this week he was a slight bit more responsive to what Cody was saying, and where last week it was just like nothing. Where this week he kind of was just about to retaliate, but then he pulled himself back.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like next week, it could be just even more of a push,
mm-hmm.
and he still might even pull back, and then wait until we're back into the States, and then really do another WTF.
Yeah, I think that the Elimination Chamber angle was massive, just nuclear, right? So instead of going from it being nuclear to John Cena comes out with the new ring gear, with the new music, with the whole new facade, they're just prolonging this and stretching this out. So immediately after Raw went off the air, and by off the air, I mean, it started at 4:00. I think I started at like 5:30 and it went till, I think I was done by 8:00. So then it was like, you were saying, Lil Tone was like, wait, it's over?
Yeah, when it got over around like 6:30, he's like, oh wait, it's over? I'm like, yeah, they're in overseas, so they had it on earlier tonight. And he's like, oh,
and
so
he has no concept of time.
So he has no concept of time. So he's like, oh, it's already over. I mean, we just started it. So we just started from the beginning, because I even missed the Cena segment then. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just turn it back to the beginning so I can see the rest of what I missed. And when I figured out, really didn't miss too much at all. I think I just missed the Cena and Cody segment and maybe another backstage segment, and then it went right into the Usos. So I only really missed maybe 20 minutes worth of stuff. And then, so like I said, to answer Steve's thing from the Facebook group, and thank you guys for answering that, guys. And so I think we're gonna get more from Cena and Cody as it goes, but I don't think we're gonna get any physical things probably till maybe the week or the week of leading into Mania. Could probably have some type of bout, but I don't think we're gonna get any blows until then.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not.
They're just going to continue riding that wave and letting it boil and simmer until one big thing. That'll definitely be the kicker. Something will happen, leading into like the Mania before or the Raw before Mania. But yeah, nothing before that.
Yeah. I would not be
Just keep
surprised.
cooking, keep cooking.
I would not be surprised if there were no physical blows whatsoever. If anything, we might get Cody just assuming that John is going to stand there and do nothing.
Yeah.
And say nothing with his earnest face, right?
Yeah.
And then Cody goes to leave, turns his back on him, and Cena just turns him around, picks him up, drops him with the AA, and then stares at him, walks away. I feel like that would be it.
That's all you need.
That's all we need. I'd be fine with it. As much as Raw ended, and I was like, well, Raw was kind of meh. It was because I was expecting the Cena and Cody to be a little bit more. And then once I digested it, I was like, they're really just drawing this out, and we have to be patient about it. I think their match is going to be insane.
Like I said, I think once it gets back into the States, I think a lot of these storylines are just going to start hitting the strides. Then, like, because we're going to be 2-3 weeks out from it at that point. So, yeah, I think once we get into the States, that's when things are really going to start kicking off.
And from a booking standpoint, Triple H knows that the international crowds in Europe are so loud.
Yes.
He can literally just, I mean, all in all, these are glorified house shows. Okay? They're glorified house shows minus Penta and Braun Breaker, which we're getting to. Okay?
Yeah.
So once they come back to the States, how do they get the US fan base to be loud on that level? They're going to have to give us some heavy stuff. So I think
absolutely
from a booking standpoint, it's smart because the crowd in Europe is making these episodes feel way more than they actually are. Because on paper, it's very like, okay, these matches are just kind of here to be here, except for this match is the result of this match is building the match for next week, and then so on and so on, and it's all just chain reaction stuff to get us to, okay, what are these mid-card Mania matches actually going to be, right?
Right.
So after that, we get El Gran Americano making his in-ring debut. Okay?
Yeah.
Gotta say, was really surprised about Dragon Lee's mask ripping off. But what was more surprising was that Dragon Lee was trying to rip off El Gran Americano's mask in the middle of the match. And I was like, is Dragon Lee really going after his mask? And then once we're assuming it's Chad Gable, right?
Assuming.
I mean, Cheyenne was like, I don't know. That guy looks way smaller than him. And I was like, you do realize that they had him off of TV for like 4 weeks. The guy, all he needed to do was like cut his diet down and lose 10, 15 pounds and slim up. So it maybe looked not like his stocky build. I think that's what's going on here. Cause the German suplexes and the Gracias, I don't want to strike a nerve in saying this, but I thought it was really interesting that they said Golf of America on WWE. Just putting that, and I think that's because El Gran Americano, they're like, oh, we're gonna be able to get away with this because he's a Mexican luchador, but he's in
Mexican America.
Yeah.
Cheech and Chong reference.
Cheech and Chong, yep. So should be interesting to see where that goes.
Right.
I am still sitting around waiting to see what they do with Rey Fenix because he is supposedly coming in before Mania and might even be on the Mania card. But I did hear that he was headed to SmackDown. So interesting that they would be keeping him and Penta apart, given that they were the Lucha Brothers in AEW, like tag champions and everything. I mean, after that is the Valkyria match with Raquel. to which you and I both thought Raquel might get this win.
Yeah, it made it seem that she was going to get it. I really thought Bakir was going to lose it to Rodriguez.
So,
but then again, you got like the roll up on it, so she saved herself in that match.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the thinking on that whole thing is, if the Judgment Day is going to get gold again, I don't think that Raquel is going to be the first one to do it.
Right.
I think it's going to be someone who whoever gets the belt, or whoever doesn't get a belt at Mania. It's going to cause for the imminent dissension of Finn making his exit from the Judgment Day one way or another.
Yep.
Right? So next we get Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io in the ring again. Adam Pearce is insisting it's not a triple threat. Sets up Rhea versus Io for the title again next week. Again, this is all just getting us to the imminent triple threat, right? Like, I don't even want to go too far into that. Backstage is the we talked about Jimmy J and Gunther already, so I'm not going to rehash that one out. Okay, Penta versus Braun Breaker.
What a match!
What a stellar match! I mean, love both these guys. These guys are
they're definitely working hard.
They are the top of the food chain in the next 5 years. Got to give a shout out to Cheyenne, who is saying they need new pyro and new camera guys, because Cheyenne loves Penta. Her favorite is Cody Rhodes. When their music hits, she's sitting there waiting, one, for Cody to hit the fireworks go off after the first whoa fireworks, and then when he does the punch, but
Little Tone likes that.
when the punch isn't on time with the pyro, she loses her absolute effing shit. Okay. So that was why Cheyenne was like, can you guys talk about the pyro, like, and the camera guy? So the camera guys, the thing is that the camera was zoomed out for the punch for Cody and during Penta's entrance, because Penta's entrance, usually the camera's panning up and you have like the pyro going off behind him, and it looks so good. Camera angle was from afar again, so she was like my two favorite guys on the show. Boo this man. Yes, seriously. So Dominic causes the DQ here, right? Or
he tried to.
I think. Hold on, I'll tell you.
I forget how it fully ended, but it was definitely coming towards the fact that Dom is trying to recruit Penta into the Judgment Day. Finn doesn't want anybody else in.
No new friends, no new, right?
No new news. So I definitely think, like I was saying earlier, Finn is making his way out. He's going to be pushed out, whether it's Dom trying to be the head of Judgment Day now with everything, because obviously Liv is putting stuff in his head to start saying that, like you should be running it. Obviously not saying that, but she's putting it in his head where he's starting to make connections like, maybe I can run this thing. We need to get Finn out of here first, though. So so I think Finn's on his way to becoming a face again, and we might be getting the Demon back. So I'm looking forward to that, because we haven't seen that in forever. But I can't say any more good things about Penta and Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is a beast, and he is a future WWE champion for sure. Penta's just putting on good work. And when they obviously do that, U.S. title. That's going to be a stellar match with Finn, Penta, Braun Breaker. Or no, it's the Intercontinental Championship, not the. So yeah, that'll be good, and I think that was on our chart that we did the other few episodes back, where they're probably going to put Sheamus, Kaiser, Pete Dunne, Penta, Braun Breaker, and Finn Balor in together. So if that's going to be the match that gets there, it'll be one hell of a fight.
Yeah, really interesting. I just watched back the finish. So Dom tried to interfere. Braun deflected. Carlito tried to interfere. He eats a spear. And then Dom comes in and chop blocks Braun Breaker to cause the DQ.
Mm-hmm.
Balor shows up with the chair out of nowhere. Now Dom's giving Penta the chair. They wind up laying waste to the both of them, and Balor's like, "Yeah, hey, what's going on? Like, come on, man, come on! Like, we're good, we're good."
Little sparks flying.
I read last night late that and again, this can change, and the leak could have been Triple H leaking false information, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Fatal 4-Way, Finn Balor, Penta, Braun Breaker, and Dominic Mysterio. So you do that, and that to me just sounds like Dominic Mysterio is winning the match. And then you have Dom with the IC title. So this is what I was saying earlier. Dom with the IC title. I think that we're going to get Lyra Valkyria defending her the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Bayley and Liv Morgan, which gets Liv on the card.
Yeah.
You get Liv Morgan winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship. You get Dom winning the Men's Intercontinental Championship. And then they're like, yeah, Finn, you're out. So basically, the whole history of the Judgment Day, Edge created it. He gets booted. Finn comes in. He's the new leader. Well, Damian comes in. He gets booted. Finn's the new leader. He gets booted. So then you get Dominic and Liv are running the Judgment Day with.
So it's all like, all the original people from Judgment Day will be officially out.
Yes, because Dominic Mysterio was brought in after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like
Finn is the last OG of that. Well, Priest was the last OG. Priest and Rhea were the last OG.
Because they brought Finn in after the fact too.
After Edge, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it stopped with Rhea and Priest, but yeah, the I guess like the first four, if you count that Finn with that, then OG. Yep. But
so then is the Judgment Day actually done? And then is it just like Dom and Carlito and Liv and Raquel? Do they get Penta in? Do they bring Ray? Do they bring Ray Phoenix into the mix? Like fun stuff to be had there. And then if you get Dom with the Intercontinental belt, then we can get a face Finn Balor chasing after Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
Give us Dominic Mysterio versus Demon Balor at SummerSlam.
Yes.
And we'll never not be here for Demon Balor. Like, seriously.
Do it.
That just jumped in my head about Liv being in that, because it kind of seems that way because Bayley is like coaching Valkyria.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Liv was ringside with Raquel for the match, so I can definitely see Liv Morgan has to be on the Mania card. She to me is one of the most improved in the last year.
Yes.
No way that they don't put her on the card.
No way that they don't get her in some type of match.
I realize that they are the women's tag team champions, but there's no WrestleMania marquee women's tag match unless if they do a giant, like multi, like 8-woman tag match or
like
something.
6 or 8 women tag. That would be something to throw that in there for sure.
Yeah. And we want to wrap up with this one.
Yeah. like I said, we had a lot to pack in. We'll be having more as we move back into the States, and we thank everybody for tuning in. And we are what about 3 weeks
3 weeks.
out
Mhm.
from Mania. So yeah, it's gonna start heating up, guys. So be prepared. If you guys want to also join the discussions, we're going to start putting weekly, questions out on our Facebook group. So make sure you join the Facebook group, tell some friends. We're, trying to add our community in there. So we're going to be putting some daily discussions, questions out there, asking you guys about what you guys think of Raw and Smackdown and little things, and we'll be able to give you guys shout outs like we did tonight. So you know join the chat,
That's
join
a
the group,
one
and
set fam. One
the
set
One
fam.
Set Fam Facebook group. We'll have it linked in the description. So thank you all, and again, make sure you follow us on all social media at One Set Pod. Hit us up on Gmail. Subscribe to our Patreon and pick up some merch. So with that said, anything else you got for us, bud?
All the love. Until next time, it will almost definitely be all things WrestleMania. So
Let's
gear up.
go.
Let's go. All the love to you.